Okay, today we will discuss about failover SQL Server clustering. So, as we know that cluster is a service that service is provided by Windows Server Enterprise Edition. So we are considering here 2012 Windows Server Enterprise Edition. What it does is like, for instance, for any application. If that application is using one server, okay, and then that goes down, then people will not be able to use that application. So the high availability solution is like, if this server goes down, we have a backup server or a standby server which will be up and then will allow users to use the application. Now let's consider here as SQL Server. So for instance, we have web application and then that is connected to our SQL Server, and then people are using the application. If this server goes down, we have a standby server and that will go up, and a user will use the other server for their application. So only issue will be there that the user that are connected right now, they all of them will be disconnected for a few seconds and then they will be connected to this server. So that is the high availability solution, and one of them is called cluster service. Here we are saying failover clustering for SQL Server. Here we are seeing one solution. We have server A, server B, and this is called active passive. So what is implied that that users will be connected to one SQL instance. So you can consider the whole unit as consist of two servers. Here we have two physical servers, and for databases we have shared disk. This is disk space. So combinedly it's called active passive. What it means here that there will be one SQL instance only. Okay, belong to this whole environment. There will be only one SQL instance which will be called as node. So user will be connected to that SQL instance, and then first of all the primary or master owner of this node will be A. Okay, so if this server goes down, okay, it will move to node B, and when a server A is the owner of this node, there will be database disks, okay, that and A will be owner of that. So during failover, failover means it will fail here, and a SQL instance will move to here. So B will once it moves to B, if server A goes down, B will be the owner of the SQL instance as well as disks and any other cluster resources. So that is active passive. So here we can see the disks that is there. So disk will be mirrored, which implies if any disk goes bad, there should not be any issue because the mirror disks are there. So let's consider this another one, that is active active. And active active is like we have two node cluster, and this implies that we will have on the whole cluster unit we will have two SQL instance. Okay, so let's say we have server A and server B. Server A will host SQL 1 and server B will host SQL 02, and the disk that will be there, one set of disk will belong to A server for A server's database, or in this instance SQL 01 instance, and SQL 02 instance databases will locate on the other disks. This will be owner, B will be owner of this disk and A will be owner of this disk, and A will host SQL 01, B will host SQL 02. If A fails, this server goes down, SQL instance will move on to here. So B will host then SQL 02, which was original one, and then failover instance, which is SQL 01. So both of them will be the owner. Now what will be the consequence during that? So you know that we have CPU, we have memory, So that will be shared between them. So normally on standalone machine, you know that all the resources will be used by one SQL instance if one SQL instance is the owner of it. But if two instances run on one, CPU will be divided and then memory will be divided. So performance will be bad. So we cannot keep that for a long time. It's just for temporary purpose. Once this box goes up, you will move. You need to move SQL 01 back to server A. IP. So there will be two kind of IP, Internet Protocol, to connect to the server. As we see, the ISB SQL 01. Okay, and then this physical two server has also IP address. Okay, but we will not consider about the physical name of it. Okay, we will and physical IP. We will consider about logical name of it and logical IP address. Virtual, we can say that virtual. There will be virtual, which is like for node. There will be two server name. One is physical server name. One is virtual server name. For B, there will be physical server name, virtual server name. Okay, we will and there will be physical IP and virtual IP. There will be physical IP, virtual IP. We will be using for node virtual server name and virtual IP. Patching technique. As we know that when once you install SQL Server, so what you have to do is like uh, you have to apply the patching. First of all, you have to fail over. So if it's active, you have to fail over this unit over this one. So two will host one on B, and then you can do whatever patching you want to do, Windows level or SQL Server level, and then you move back SQL 01. And then for this one again, SQL 02 has to be moved over server A, and then you do all the patching and all the SP service pack hotfixes, whatever you want to apply, and then you move back SQL 02 to its original node, original server. Installation. So for active, you have to install two SQL Server. Okay, two SQL instances. First of all, you go to server A and then install SQL 01. Okay, so it will host original or the SQL 01, and then you go to then B, and then you have to install the failover part. Okay, of SQL 01 on node B. Okay, so if this fails on A, it will move to node B. On the other hand, you go to server 2 and install complete installation of SQL 02, and then go to node A and install the failover part only there. So if SQL 02 fails, it will move on to this one. So we will see how to do the active. For active passive, you have to install only one SQL instance. Let's say you consider this as master, so initially it will run on node A, and if it fails, it will move to node B. So go there and then install SQL 01 cluster installation, and then once it's done, you go to server B and then install only the failover part of SQL Server for this SQL 01 instance. So that is all about installation. So once you're ready to install active, let's say you will install active. So you know that you have to install SQL Server for two times. Two SQL instances you need to install on two servers, and then their failover part, two more installation. So we will see how we can do that. So first of all, you need to ask your network support team, I need this information. So two servers, you have physical servers, you need to know the physical server's name and then virtual server name. So they will provide that, and then physical IP address, virtual IP address. But you will need to configure virtual server name and virtual IP address. And we will see. So first step is validate cluster. So from Windows Server, you have to go to failover cluster manager, and there if you go there, you will see this feature that validate cluster configuration. Also it's there, validate cluster configuration. And then once you launch that, it's a wizard step by step. You need to provide what disks will be there needed, and you will select all, and just select everything, and then you go at the end page, and once you're done with it validating, it will take an hour or two, then it will provide you a report. If there are any errors, you need to fix those errors. If it's just warning, you can ignore warnings and then start installation. So if there are failure, you have to contact network support team to fix those. So for installation, as we know that first of all we have to install, we are considering here active, so two SQL instance. So if we see this picture, we will understand again. So my target is first step one, I'll install SQL 01 on complete installation, cluster installation on this one. Okay, and then I will go to node 2 and then install the failover part for this one. So we are not doing anything for SQL 01. Okay, so step will start here first, and then we will select the second part. And I'm not repeating the page that will come during installation that is there on SQL Server installation. No need to repeat that. So this is a page we will see install failover cluster rule. Just uncommon pages I will show you. This way, this will come cluster resource, and then we will select the resource group that will be there. We will just select that. Here we will select the disk. Make sure here the screen comes 2, 3, and we have to check that. It should be checked. The disk that will be there for installation. And then IP address we will need. This IP is belong to my node 1 virtual IP. Okay, we just need that, and we will just provide it there. No other, other information will be automatic. So only this address we have to fill it up, virtual IP for node 1. And then follow the next steps, and it should be completing. So once it's done, which is like the left part is done. Okay, and then we will go to the so log on to this server. Then next first step, log on to here, and then install this the SQL instance for the cluster. And then you go here and then install the failover part. The failover part starts here. So go to node B and then again run the installation software, and then select the third option, add node to SQL failover cluster. Okay, so and then I will show here again the exceptional pages. So this one we have to select on node A, whatever instance name we selected, we will just select that, nothing else is there. And then this one's IP address, we have to virtual IP we need to provide, and that's it. Complete the step-by-step process and it should be done. So that's all about cluster installation. Once it's done, we will do the verification. So once the installation is done, you will again go back to failover manager, cluster manager on one of the node. Okay, so you remote desktop to the server, and then you open this failover cluster manager, and then you will have like a role, a node. Okay, node, we know what is node. On the role you will see like these are the SQL server, that is like SQL. We will see SQL instance 1 here. Now we are installing here active. So once we are done with the installation, it's not complete. Okay, the thing is, it's just half part we have done on active passive. If you are installing active passive, this step is completed, installation is done. But if active, whatever we did for this one, now we have to do it for this one. What it implies, like now you go to B and then completely install the SQL server SQL 2 SQL instance here, and then you go to node A, and then for SQL 02 you install the failover part. Okay, which we saw for SQL instance 1. So now once installation is done, you will see here SQL 01, SQL 02. These are the roles that we will have, and they are running on this node, which is our virtual server name. So this is virtual server name, this is virtual server name, where users will be connected. Okay, and then you can see the owner. So SQL Server 01 will be running on virtual server name 1. SQL 02 will be running on virtual server 2. And if it fails over SQL, you will see here SQL 01, our owner name will be same here. Okay, if you see owner name same, node, then that for active that implies it failed over. So both instances are running. So normal situation you will see one owner will have one SQL server. So this two names should not be same. SQL 1 will hold node A or virtual server A will hold SQL server 1, and virtual server B will hold SQL server 2. That's what we will see here. On the below part we are seeing the resources. So all the disks belong to one SQL server. It will be there, and you can even start the services from here itself, from resources. Okay, you don't need to go to service and then start that. You can start it from here. So that's all we have from cluster installation.